Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. Today's video is my full anime wrap up. Finally. I'm going to be going over all of the anime that I watched throughout the full season. I'm going to be giving you mini reviews for them and telling you which ones I dropped, and you're probably going to be surprised. First up are the anime that I dropped. As Miss Beelzebub likes, this one is probably going to surprise a lot of people, especially if you read my blog, because I review the manga for As Miss Beelzebub Likes, and I really enjoy the manga, but I just did not get on with the anime. I ended up dropping this one after just one episode. Literally one. Yes, I usually give series 5 episodes, but I seriously watched the first episode of this and was just like, no. It is very pastel and pink and light colours. It is a very interesting choice of a colour palette, and it doesn't scream demons and hell like you think it would, but it really made my eyes hurt to look at, and I just literally watched the first episode and I was like, I cannot watch 12 episodes of this with these colours and this art style. I just can't. Not only that, but I ended up just being not that interested in it. Probably because I'd already read the manga, so I knew what happened, but I just find the manga a lot more engaging than the anime, and I just did not get on with the anime. Ulysses. This did not have the best art, but it was pleasant to look at, and the colour palette did fit with the tone. Montmorency was our main character. He was a little bit weak and useless, except when it comes to alchemy and magic, of course. Richemont was a badass. Presumably she was based on the real one, but obviously I didn't watch it long enough to see how that played out. Charlotte was kind of annoying to me with her crush on Montmorency. Philip wasn't much better because she was a total crybaby. I absolutely love how in the first episode they all swore an oath to be friends forever, and I was just sat there like, foreshadowing. Then later in the episode, bam. The first episode did have some action, but it was mostly to set everything up with a time skip and some conveniencies, shall we say. Jian, when we meet her, is kinda whiny and annoying, and I didn't really feel her whole "we need to save everyone" crusade. Honestly, I felt more for the poor little fairies than I did for her, and I cringed so freaking hard at the whole Philosopher's Stone Passover scene. Ugh, flashbacks. I was really not feeling the way they did it and the hints of romance to it, and I was sitting there like, if this ends up becoming a romance, I'm out. I just cringe, okay? I just cringed. And I managed to make it to episode 6, which is a feat in and of itself, okay? But I did not make it to episode 6 by properly watching each episode. I did start to resort to watching them on fast forward. I just couldn't with the saliva. I just couldn't. It was gross, okay? It was gross. I had to roll my eyes a few times at multiple things. The fan service, him asking her, "Are you okay?" when she has a sword sticking out of her fucking back. What do you think, dude? What do you think? I just kept watching it because I was hoping it was going to get better and that it would get so good that I could overlook the stuff that was making me cringe. But after episode 6 I had to drop it because the next 6 episodes after that just seemed like a long, bleak road of me forcing myself to watch it, and I just don't have the time. I tried, I really did, but I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. As for the anime that I did manage to make it all the way through, first up we have Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is back to its bright and colourful self. The last season was kinda more washed out because there was that whole change of the studio thing. I don't know if the studio's changed again, or maybe it's because Fairy Tail's been away for so long that it seems kind of more bright and colourful. I don't know. This obviously picks up exactly where the last season left off. I have read all of the manga, so I do know what happens. So, you know, there aren't really any huge shockers to be had as I'm watching, but I do enjoy seeing how they animate it and seeing it come to life in that way, and with the OST music added on. There is a nice amount of action throughout the entirety of this first part of the season. We meet some of our foes. It's kind of getting everyone together, building it up before it all finally kicks off with the Alvarez Empire. And we also get the tea on Mavis and Zereth. Finally. Obviously, this is just a small chunk of what is going to be 50+ episodes of this final season and final story arc. But just to give you a heads up, I'm not going to be reviewing Fairy Tail every freaking season. I'm doing it just this once at the beginning, and then I'll probably review the final run of episodes when it actually ends. But Initial first impressions of this final season. I'm loving the visuals and the colour palette. Like I said, I feel like it's back to being bright and colourful and more like it was when it started. I do side-eye how powered up everyone is, but it is plausible, and I guess it did have to happen. It nicely brings in plot threads and characters, both new and old. Some people's magic has gotten more interesting and has some more interesting elements to it. There is an absolutely banging opening song and OST in general. It moves at a nice pace too, with mystery and action and questions that are, you know, answered, and it is a very good start to kick off the final season of Fairy Tail. Angels of Death specials. There were 4 of these, and this was the way they chose to end Angels of Death rather than continuing the actual series. 4 web specials. Okay. This got fucked up really fast. Not gonna lie, I was watching it like, what the actual fuck is happening? It all got a little bit weird, but then we had this grand escape and everything seemed to be getting back on track after that weird little divergence we had. I know it's based on a game and it's an anime and there's no point bringing logic into all of it and getting too logical about everything, but his scythe was cutting through shit that it had no business cutting through. And then you have creepy Dr. Danny, who should have been dead multiple times by now. Like, I watched a certain scene in episode 3 or 15 or whatever it is, and I was just like, for fuck's sake. He is indestructible, inexplicably. Then there's Rachel, who also should have been dead but inexplicably wasn't. I'm actually not sure how I feel about the end of this series, because the final few episodes seem to be all God this, God that, religious lessons kind of thing, and it seems like Zack's scythe was pretty much bionic at this point, purely because of Zack's single-minded goal of killing just because he wants to. The final episode itself was actually kind of a disappointment. I genuinely thought they'd forgotten to cast a voice actor for the news reporter, and the ending, I was just like, what the fuck? And then you've got the priest over here like, we're all human. Right, Danny's got like 3 pupils, and none of you seem to be able to die no matter how much you get stabbed or shot. Doesn't strike me as particularly human. I'm gonna assume he set the building up as some kind of weird human morality project, or I've missed something, because I'm still here like, right, okay, but why? I'm just really not satisfied with that ending whatsoever, and I feel like it could have been ended a lot better than it was, but it ended up being a huge disappointment. Which is a shame, because I did actually really enjoy this series. Mostly. Boarding School Juliet. This series had an intense start with a battle, and honestly things never let up. There was never a dull moment with this one. Juliet was quite capable of taking care of herself, which I really appreciated, and she is intelligent. As for Romeo, yeah, he can be badass when he wants to be, but for the most part he's a bit of a clingy little crybaby, which was actually fun and was a great contrast and reversal. The series is quite hilarious, but in a ridiculous way, like with Scott jumping into her arms. Like I said in my review of the manga, I was surprised that the romance and the relationship started so soon, and from what I've seen of the manga, the anime is following it pretty faithfully. I do feel like there's character growth for Romeo, and that is reflected in the show. Juliet only accepted Romeo's confession because she wanted to see how he was going to change the world, and I liked seeing her feelings grow over the course of the show and how it developed and was built up more, and how she got more and more attached. I like seeing them get to know each other more and become more comfortable with each other, and I just felt like overall they were nicely matched, because obviously Juliet's smart, she's intelligent, and then Romeo, I'm not saying he's dumb, but he can be an idiot. But both were willing to do anything to make sure the other was happy, and I just loved the relationship. But it was nicely developed throughout this series. This was quite fast paced, there was a lot happening. Even if there wasn't much progress towards that goal for a good few episodes, there was a lot of action and humour, and it was quite light-hearted, except towards the end it did get a little bit darker, because we have Romeo dealing with his asshole brother, and there's a few tense and dramatic situations to get through. I did enjoy the ending. It left room for more without being too open-ended, and it was a really satisfying conclusion. As for the art and the animation, it was cute, it was bright, it was nice to look at, but I didn't really care for either of the opening or ending scenes, but that's not really too big of an issue. Irozuku, the world in colour. The art, and particularly the settings for this series, were beautifully drawn, I have to say. I like seeing everything all bright and colourful, and then seeing what our main character sees through her own eyes. The beginning was really trippy with the time travel, and it did give me pause, and I was a bit like, what? But I did like the alternate 2018 and the way the magic was used. There were a few surprises with this series, like they went in with the future reveal pretty early on, and I wasn't expecting that. I was curious throughout. I had so many questions, like how or when or if she'd go back, which is what kept me watching the show when it started to drag. Towards the middle of this show, I really do feel like it started dragging, and for the last half, I was fast forwarding episodes to get through them. I kind of lost interest a bit, but I did still want to know how everything was going to end up, but I wasn't invested enough to dedicate a full 23 minutes of my life to it. I did enjoy seeing her make friends and see those friendships develop. I feel like she herself as a character really developed. She grew a lot, she had the chance to become happier, and I feel like she became a more outgoing person by the end. I know it had to happen, but it's just a little bit depressing that she had to leave them all, and like, they obviously died, or are like super old now, at least, and she came back to the future like, right, well, on with my life then, and I was a bit like, right, not the reaction I was expecting, okay. But the ending is what aggravated me the most. Are you telling me I watched 13 episodes of this damn show to find out that falling in love made her see colours? Like, I get she blamed herself for presumably her mother's death, and the show is about her coming to terms with that death, and he just happens to show her that she has feelings. But I just felt a little bit disappointed overall with the whole love conquers all shit. Although I do acknowledge that I could have missed something with the whole fast forwarding to get through it thing. Basically, it just had a strong start and a really shit ending. And finally, Sword Art Online Alicization. I was at one point in time reading and reviewing the light novels for this story arc, but I gave up because I was bored out of my freaking mind. Personally, I feel like in the light novel version of this story arc, there is a lot of crap that could be cut out because that fucker goes on for centuries. Like, Jesus Christ, there was an entire light novel that literally barely anything happened in, and it's just like some of them needed to have been pushed together. On top of that, I'm finding it really hard to review this show because I've had this thing happen where initially I super loved Sword Art Online. Like, wow, it's the best anime ever, top 10 material. And now I'm a bit like, yeah, it's not the best, let's be real. This story arc really takes its sweet ass time building everything up, setting everything up, and I know it needs to happen, but it's not the most riveting thing to watch, especially when I'd already read all about it and wasn't that enthused about it at the time either. The animation at the beginning was questionable. There's very bright colours, it struck me as very kind of gamey, little kiddie. There were questionable camera angles and movement, and the first episode is 47 minutes. 47 very, very long minutes. Did it need to be 47 minutes? No, much like with the light novel. Could have cut some of it out and sped things up a bit. On a positive, I did learn that I still can't take Kirito seriously in GGO with the long hair and the lightsaber. Anyway, the interesting thing about this series is that time passes very differently in the underworld. So like a day in real life could be a year in the underworld. So it does make for a very interesting dual life that he's leading, especially as he's lacking memories. I did 100% live for cocky Kirito strutting up to that tree, all ready to cut it down in one blow like the overpowered little douche he is, and failing epically. It was a highlight for me, an absolute highlight. My main gripe with this anime is the exact same issue I have with the light novel. I was really hoping it was going to cut some of the shit out, but it didn't. It's left everything in, it's adapting it faithfully. Yay. But dear God, there are so many freaking episodes where sweet fuck all happens. There is a ton of info dumping and then something finally happens and then it's nothing much again. And unlike Aincrad, I literally could not care less when anyone died because computer program. Sorry, but like Yu-Gi-Oh lost an eye and I was completely unbothered because I was like, no worries, they're gonna heal that shit up straight away. And they did. I feel like some character motivations for this were just, you know, plot. I don't know about you guys, but if I'd just been stabbed and brought into this game to save my life and needed to, you know, get answers so I can get out, I would not spend days helping a stranger chop down a giant ass tree for however many freaking episodes it was, because it seemed like it went on for years. In conclusion, it's slow paced, it still has some questionable elements to it, and I'm kind of watching it and just waiting for things to finally get going. Like, you know, we've got this whole deal with Alice and all of that, but after that, I'm assuming everyone's gonna come for Kirito. I don't know. I'm just waiting for something interesting to happen and for the pace to pick up and to pick up where the light novel left off. So that has been my full anime wrap up. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know down below what you thought of these anime. I will link all of my social media down below so you can come and chat to me on Twitter. For more similar content, feel free to hit that subscribe button and I will see you guys next video.